What is Apache Solr? Apache Solr is open source enterprise level search platform. It is the most widely used search platform deployed worldwide. Some of the companies which use Solr are Netflix, AOL, E-Trade, Disney, MTV, Flipkart, etc. It enjoys a strong reputation for being extremely scalable, stable, and reliable. Its top features include advanced full text search, near real-time indexing, communication to Solr server exposes industry standards protocol like XML, JSON over HTTP. We don't have to worry about scalability when using Solr. As the data grows, Solr can be deployed in multiple hosts which can easily scalable. And apart from scalability, it provides auto-index replications, automatic failover, and recovery. All these comes with one-time easy flexible XML configurations. Why one should learn Solr? Well, these days big data is growing to large extent, like GBs, TBs, and even PBs of structured as well as unstructured data. It is of no use until you learn to perform a search or extract important analytical information which will help in providing. It is no use until you learn to perform a search or extract important information to derive a useful information and providing a vital business stats. This is one of the use case of Solr wherein you extract a big data and provide analytical information or useful information to the business. Also think about the lines of internet industry like e-commerce, job portal, restaurants, movies, etc. Most of them provide a search engine to support their businesses. So Solr provides a very important role in performing these search operations. On the salary part, as per the reports published in payscale.com, an average salary of a software developer having a Solr experience gets $100 US. There is a huge demand for analytical field, e-commerce, job portal, and on big data. Online retailers are finding unprecedented growth in sales over past few years. E-commerce generated $231 billion sales in US last year. It is expected to increase by 13% every year. On the career perspective, Apache Solr is claimed to be #1 open source search platform server. Also, it is one kind of NoSQL data store which is being increasingly popular these days. On the career perspective, Apache Solr is claimed to be #1 open source search platform server. It is one kind of NoSQL data store which is being increasingly popular these days. Once you gain the knowledge of Apache Solr, you are just taking your first steps towards a massive domain, which is information retrieval system and content discovery. Who can learn Solr? Well, this course is important for software developers, data scientists, big data developer, and data warehousing professionals. On the prerequisites, anybody having the basic knowledge of command line and HTTP protocol can start this course. And at last, why you should choose Intellipaat? Well, we provide comprehensive, industry-led and career-oriented courses. Once you opt for this course, you get 24/7 lifetime course access with free upgrade. We have exclusive corporate tie-ups and provide you with job assistance if required. And during this course, we provide complete hands-on with live projects so that you get complete in-depth understanding from basics to advanced level. So let us get started with building of our bookstore module, where we will start with building of our manage schema.xml, adding fields, copy fields, etc. Yeah, let's get started. We will create a core, configure Solr config.xml or manage schema, then we will index using SolrJ client. We are using the same directory structure, which is d Intellipaat Solr, and in terminal I have opened d Intellipaat Solr and then bin directory. To start with, we will have to start our Solr server and then create the core. I'm starting Solr server now, trying to start on 8983 port. It gets started. Okay. So the next thing which I'll do is I'll create a core by name Bookstore Solr create -c bookstore, and then use the config set called basic configs. Basic configs is the template using which I'm creating the core by called bookstore. Yes, it makes a HTTP call to my local host to create a core. So once we have created a core, we have the basic configs ready, and now only thing pending is we will configure the Solr XML or manage schema where we define all the fields required for the bookstore. Okay, so I will stop Solr server and get into the schema edition. I'll say Solr stop hyphen, or it is trying to stop. Okay, it has stopped now. Just a note, schema.xml is the traditional name given for schema files, and manage schema is given for the latest version of Solrs. If you are using Solr Cloud, you may not able to find any file under these names on local file systems, because all these files get stored in our Zookeeper. We will get into Solr Cloud mode in the further modules, right? As of now, don't worry about Solr Cloud deployment. So let us go to the directory where the code got created and add the manage. So let us go to the directory where the core has created and add the fields in manage schema. My core is created under server, Solr, and bookstore, and then config. We have manage schema. We have manage schema. Edit. You get to see all the basic schema defined over here. Okay, so it has fields, dynamic fields, then we have a unique ID, field type definitions, right? So each field type having filters associated to it. You can go through this file and you can get a fair idea about the field type, field name, etc. Okay, so now before adding data over here, we first have to know what are the field types which our bookstore supports. Okay, so what I have done is I have created JSON files for each of our bookstore. So I'll go to Intellipaat. I have created Solr bookstore JSON files. You can get access to these files once you opt for this tutorial. It is part of it. Okay, and I have created some JSON files over here. Let's try to see what are its content. Okay, so what does it have? It has a publisher name, it has ISBN, denotes a unique identifier of the book, publisher location, author first name, last name, genre or the category to which this book belongs, the title of the book, the location of the publisher in Ladrong, and the prices available in various e-commerce sites. So I have taken Amazon, Flipkart, Infobeam, and rediff over here. It is just for illustration purpose of Solr. It is nothing to do with actual book. Okay, it is just considered as example. Let us get into the manage schema and see what are the default fields present in the config. Okay, so it has started with schema version, name. It has fields, dynamic fields, unique ID, field type. So each field type having analyzer and filters associated to it, right? Yeah, let us see what are each of them says. Fields are defined in fields element of schema.xml. Once you have a field types set up, defining field themselves is very simple. Okay, so each field is defined under our fields root node. The bare minimal thing to have a field name, right? So field name should consist of alphanumeric or underscore character only and not to start with digit. Names with both leading and trailing underscore are reserved. Each field must have a unique name to identify itself. Now the type parameter says the type of the field, basically data type denoting uh, the field type, associated class, and the filters applied for this field. Type is the custom name defined over here, and the same entry should be present in the field type as well. Okay, so for instance, just take a look at this field name is defined as string. So if you go scroll down, the field type string is present, so that maps over here, and the class which uses to store the data is solar.str field. Okay, it has some basic uh, attributes defined over here. So likewise there are other fields as well. So for instance, if you get into the text underscore general, there will be a field type defined. It has its own configuration. So for instance, you can see over here, so it uses a standard tokenizer factory, it uses a stop word, it uses, so this is for index. So it has two analyzers, one for indexing, another for querying. So these analyzers will be, one will be used during index, the another will be used during query, and it has its own tokenizer, it has its own filters applied to it. So you can create your own field type having its own analyzer and tokenizer and filters as well. Okay, for now we will use the default field types. We have a default attribute as well. Okay, so in the field can contain the default attribute. So if no value is passed during indexing, that sets the default value. Over here you can see there is another attribute called indexed. So if it is set as true, the value of this field can be used in queries to retrieve the matching documents. And then we have a attribute called stored. If this is true, then the actual value of the field can be retrieved by queries. So it is not for matching, but it is matched by another field, and this field is just present as part of the document. The other important attribute is multi-valued, indicates that this field is a single valued or it is a multiple valued. There is another important attribute is required, instructs Solr to reject any attempt to add a document. Basically it says like any document where which you are trying to add, and if this field is missing, Solr will throw an exception saying this is the mandatory field and you need to set the value for it. There are other types of field definitions. So over here you can see the field. It's a basic declaration of field. There is even dynamic field. Apart from basic and dynamic field, there is something called copy fields. You might want to interpret some document fields in one or other way. Okay, so Solr provides a mechanism for making copying of fields so that you can apply in several distinct field types. So basically, if you have field 1 and field 2, you have a third field which says it is combination of field 1 and field 2, then you use a field of type copy field. The common usage of this a common usage of this functionality is to create a single search field. A common usage for this functionality is to create a single search field that will serve as default query field when users or client do not specify any field to query. For example, we have n number of fields, let's say a title, a book title, a book ISBN, a book keywords, book description. So if you don't specify any search criteria to search with, we create a field, a dedicated field wherein we do a default search on the copied field. Basically that field will be combination of all other fields. We will have to use this functionality. However, if we are using this functionality, we will have to make sure we use a limited number of fields to copy to this destination field or using the copied field, because it might be problematic for you if the size of the fields are huge. We will have to consider the disk space also. Okay, so it is just not a single document. So this field alone can have monolithic big information of all the fields, right? And the next thing which we have is our dynamic field. As the name suggests, so it allows Solr to index fields that you do not explicitly define in your schema. You define just the partial out of it. This is useful if you discover you have forgotten to define one or more fields. Dynamic fields can make your application less brittle by providing some flexibilities in the document that you can add it to Solr. A dynamic field is just like a regular field except that it has a wildcard in it, wherein you can use it as a placeholder for your field. Okay, so let's start with our use case of building a bookstore module. Okay. So before defining field for our bookstore module, we will have to go through the fields which are required to start with our bookstore. So what I have done is I have created a directory containing the JSON files wherein each JSON is denoting book. So basically it has a publisher name, then we have ISBN, a unique identifier for this book, publisher location, author first name, author last name, then we have categories or genre to which the book belongs, then we have title, publisher lat long, then we have price defined in each of the e-commerce sites. So please note this is just for tutorial purpose. I have added these data. It is nothing to deal with the actual book available. Okay, it is just for tutorial purpose. Now let's go back to our manage schema and start defining our fields. So we will not be needing this root. We will comment it out. ID we don't need. Instead of ID we will use our ISBN. Then we have a book title. Book title is just not a single string, it is multiple strings, so I will use the text underscore general. Okay, and then we have a publisher name, so I will name it as pub name. It is a single string, it is indexed, stored. Okay, then we have author first name and last name, right? Let's say author first name, then author last name, right? And then we have publisher location, publisher location, right? And then we have publisher lat long. Instead of string, I'll use it as location. So this is responsible for storing the coordinates. I will even need the dynamic field by name coordinates. Okay, so I'll say star hyphen coordinates, which is of type double. Okay, so it is just indexed and it need not be stored. This is optional. And then we have the categories. I'll say categories, which is of type string, and since it can contain more than one value, I'll say multi-value true. To illustrate the use case of copy field, I'll combine author's first name and last name to another field by name author full name. I'll make it as multi-valued so it can combine the result of author first name as well as last name. Okay, so I'll say copy field from source first name and copy it to our destination field author full name. Sorry. Likewise, I'll copy author last name to author full name. So this field will be populated by our copy field attribute. We will even showcase the dynamic field. So how we will showcase it? So we had a use case wherein we had a price corresponding to each of the e-commerce site. So I will use a dynamic field of, let's say, I'll say wildcard and then say underscore price. So over here I will replace with Amazon, Flipkart, Rediff or any other e-commerce sites. So the type I will give it as int, indexed and stored. Do we need rest of the fields? No, we don't need it. We can simply delete all of these, and then unique ID is our ISBN, where it is the unique identifier for the document. version is required, then all of our bookstore specific fields are required. So let us cross check once again. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Right. We are good with our declaration of fields. And now we will start with our Eclipse project to index the data from our JSON files and store it in Solr. Okay. So we are good with our fields declaration.